Move. Second.
Ms. Tamira, second by Ms. Saxon. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby. Yes. Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Vaca.
Yes. All right, we'll move right into the superintendent treasurer's report.
Okay, before I turn over the podium to Mr. Fritz, who's going to give us an enrollment update, I just wanted to let the board know that yesterday we had a very successful first day back. Had some very excited staff members talk to their peers about what energizes them to be part of North Ridgeville City Schools. And while it was new, it was something that I think was appreciated, hearing from each other about the things they're looking forward to. In addition to that, we had a keynote speaker who really hit home some of the points that we've been trying to make here for a very long time, but also will continue to promote throughout the school year. And it was overall a very nice day. I thank all of you for your support in our convocation event, and look forward to next year. We're planning. The second item I just learned about recently was last evening at the City Council meeting, and I just want to thank Holly Swank for her leadership, councilwoman in Ward 1, on the school bus fines, passing school bus fines, and she brought before a safety committee, Tammy Kashmerek, and some of our staff to look at some videos of people who were passing stop school buses. And ultimately, they voted last night unanimously to increase the fines to a $350 mandatory minimum, up to a $1,000 fine for a first offense. The second offense is significantly more, and all of that does not include court costs. So it's a pretty significant fine, and Fox 8 did run a feature on it this afternoon. I can send you that link once we have it. We were very excited to see again that partnership and support from our city as it pertains to our kids and their safety. So we thank them. Any questions before I turn it over to Mr. Pritt? Okay, we have an enrollment update, and Mr. Pritt is going to talk us through that.
Thank you. So I know last year I stood right behind this podium in about this exact same spot. I told you we were growing. We are still growing. But I think these numbers it just helps to paint a portrait of why we're out in the community and why we're asking for facilities. We know that the high school has been overcrowded for a long time. We know that Liberty has been overcrowded for a long time. We know that high tech is at capacity. So put it in perspective for you, here are just some fun numbers. August of 2021, when I last spoke at this podium and talked to you about enrollment, we had 4,631 students enrolled. Currently, as I stand here and talk to you, we have 4,787 students enrolled. So we have picked up 156 students, from this point in the school year last year. Our summer enrollments to date have been steadily climbing. On 8-4, we had 150 students enrolled new to the district. And I give you these numbers. These are numbers from kindergarten through grade 12. I'm sorry, first grade through grade 12. So this is not our kindergarten. This is not our preschool, because those numbers change pretty fluidly. So on 8-10, 177 enrolled. Today, so far this summer, we've had 193 students enrolled for the school year. So when we take those 193 students that have enrolled, we subtract off what has left us for other places. We have a net gain of 156 students right now over this time last school year. Percentage-wise, it's a 3.3% increase in student population. Our big grades, and this one doesn't come as a surprise to me, our biggest gainer is in grade 1 with 25 students. That's pretty typical, actually. That jump between kindergarten and first grade is generally the biggest jump that we have. Parents look at different options for kindergarten and then bring their kids back home to the district in first grade. Grade 3 has added 22 students. And then the smallest growth in any of our grades is grade 6 and 7 have each added 11, which 11 students is roughly half of a class, just under half of a class, and put that in perspective for everybody. So we've got one outlier grade right now. That's grade 2. They're at 308 students. I can't explain that one. It was small in kindergarten. It was small in first grade. It's our smallest. But then once we move beyond that, our classes range anywhere from 345 students in first grade all the way up to 386 students in sixth grade. So The growth that we have seen over the last several years does not appear to be slowing down at this point in time. So running a little over 3% right now for enrollment. I anticipate that over the coming couple of weeks, we will still have some students enroll. I know that we'll have some students withdraw. My hope at this moment is that those numbers kind of cancel themselves out. But realistically, we're looking to be 160 to 175 students more at the beginning of this year than we were at the beginning of last school year. So our space needs certainly are not going away. If anything, they're just becoming more dire and desperate. So what questions might you have?
Does any of this translate into needing to hire new staff, additional staff?
So if we look at what we have already hired this summer, I believe, and I'll have Mrs. Hostel correct me, we were probably 10 or 11 new FTE, is my guess, full-time equivalent. So we're in okay shape now. I think what folks need to realize is 156 kids works out to roughly the equivalent of 6 brand new teachers. You know, that's 6 classrooms worth of kids that we're adding, if you're talking about 25 kids in a classroom. Of these numbers, about 34-ish of these students are students with special needs. So students that will be coming with IEPs, and we are hoping that once they filter out across the grade levels that we have the correct staffing that we need. We know that that one is tied to ratios and everything else. So we're not going to know that until probably we get a little further in the school year, see what else is still out there and what might withdraw. So other questions?
So with our current graduating classes, there's no reason to believe we won't be above $1,500 as the norm at the high school, correct?
No, there's no reason.
So we'll get 100 more than what we're already at. So just another example of the need as to why that high school cannot function.
Sure. I mean, when I look at our high school numbers now, you know, those range anywhere from 354 students to 374. When I look at the classes incoming, it's 375, it's 386, it's 364. You know, those numbers are going to continue to increase.
And can you remind me again how many students that building was actually built for?
The building was built for about 900, if my memory serves me correctly. So,
Thank you.
You talked to us a little bit about Liberty as well. With that 22, I think you said 25 students coming in at first grade. Now that second grade class is a little bit smaller.
Second grade is a little bit smaller. So what's helping us a little bit at Liberty is, and it currently has an enrollment of 570 or so is where it's sitting right now. What really helps us at Liberty is the fact that we're pulling 40-some students out that are attending High Tech Academy. So when we opened High Tech Academy, the plan had been, you know, third grade and up. Because of our space crunch that we ran into there, we decided to move second grade over as well. You know, if second grade we're still in that building, knowing that second grade is that abnormally small group, you're talking a group of 700 students, which again, that's a building designed for something closer to 4.5 or 5. So that space crunch is just as real there. Like I said, without high tech saving us, I don't know where we'd be, to be very honest.
Is that first grade class a whole new classroom? I mean, the 25 students, is that a?
In a normal year, that would be a full classroom. You know, we have the staffing numbers there to accommodate that at this point in time.
Okay.
So that's going to bump up with an average class size by about 2 students per class. But we do have the staff there. The challenge there would be, you know, if we needed a person, I don't know where we'd put them, to be honest with you. So, and that's one of the challenges until we get spaces that will fit our enrollment. You know, one of those challenges you look at is an increased class size because you physically don't have anywhere to put the students.
Right. Thank you.
Well, I thank you for your time, and I will see you in 365 days.
Sooner.
Thank you, Mr. Pritt. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
All right, here's an opportunity for hearing of the public. If there's anybody in attendance this evening that would like to address the Board of Education, now's your chance. Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. It is recommended that the Board of Education approves the consent agenda resolution as presented.
Moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCarthy, second by Ms. Tamira. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby. Yes. Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mr. Vaca.
Yes. Move into the human resources report, Mr. Grigsby.
It is recommended that the Board of Education approve the human resource item as presented.
Moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCarthy, second by Ms. Tamira. Is there any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby. Yes. Mrs. Saxon,
Abstain.
Mr. Vaca.
Yes. Move on to the finance audit report, Ms. McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Rocca. Two items tonight for our consideration under the finance audit report. First, we have our regular approval of the financial reports for July 2022. And do we have two separate motions on these?
Yes.
Okay, so I would recommend that we approve the finance audit reading, or I'm sorry, item in one reading.
Second.
You have a motion from Ms. McCarthy and a second from Mr. Grigsby.
No, you can do Mr. Grigsby and Ms. Saxon. That's fine, because I just recommended, I didn't move it necessarily. It was, I've got words. They're not coming out in the right order.
So moved by Mr. Grigsby and second by Ms. Saxon.
Thank you, Mr. Vaca. You did, thank you. That's a long time we've been working.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Grigsby. Yes. Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mr. Vaca.
Yes.
Okay, let me see if these words work and in what order. Our second item for consideration tonight is a resolution of intent to redeem bonds or other debt obligations then outstanding upon receiving the state share portion of the cost of the school district's classroom facilities project. I do move to approve this resolution in one reading.
Second.
Moved by Ms. McCarthy, second by Ms. Tamira. Is there any discussion?
I just want to mention why this is important for the community to know that we're doing this. With the project, the One Vision, One North Ridgeville project that we're entering into with the city, we have a shared portion with the state. The states, help me with the commission,
Ohio Facilities
Thank you.
Construction.
Thank you. Ohio Facilities Construction Commission. So they, their portion of the money for our project will be realized when our number comes up with the state. That could be 5 years from now, it could be 6, could be 10. We don't know when that number is going to come up. But it's the intention of this board that when that number does come up, that the money that comes in will be used, as I said before, to fulfill debt obligations then outstanding for this project.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And to Ms. McCarthy's point, the intent is to make very clear that that's the way these funds will be utilized. Past bond issues, there was some ambiguity as to what could be done with these funds. And even though there's only two options, we're making it clear that this board's intent is to pay down debt because it is a co-funded project. So it should go to the project that it was intended for. So I would like to thank Mr. Pacini for putting together this resolution. And do you have any clarification or anything that you would like to add to that?
No, I thought that was great. Just to reiterate, the district, as you all know, has entered into a project agreement with the OFCC under ELP, Expedited Local Partnership Program. And typically there's a state portion and there's a local portion for a project like this. Doesn't always mean that the timing lines up for when facilities are actually needed. So we will be eligible for the state share at a later date. And that's how this kind of works. And when the bond issue passes, the bonds will be used to pay the cost of the entire project. So that includes both the school district, the local share, and the state share. And upon completion of that project, whenever that time comes, like Mrs. McCarthy said, it could be 5, 6, 10 years from now, the district will qualify for a later eligibility to participate in the Classroom Facilities Assistance Program, CFAP. And that is where the state will then reimburse for that state portion of the cost of the project. And that's the ELP credit. And we're looking at $33,669,716 for that credit. And yeah, what we're saying here is that that entire amount will be used to pay down debt obligations, pay down those bonds associated with this bond issue.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby. Yes. Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mr. Vaca.
Yes. Okay, moving to human resources report, Saxon.
We have a few items to consider under the human resources report. 3 support staff resignations, 2 supplemental contract resignations, 1 certified staff leave replacement appointment, 1 certified staff building substitute, 6 support staff appointments, 1 non-NREA supplemental contract, 1 support staff substitute contract, 2 unpaid volunteer recognitions, 5 certified staff adjustments, 17 support staff adjustments. I move to approve the human resources report in 1 reading.
Second that. Moved by Ms. Saxon, seconded by myself. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mr. Vaca,
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mrs. Tamira.
Yes.
All right, it is recommended that the Board of Education enter into executive session to discuss the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, compensation of public employees and matters related to negotiations of public employees. There will be no action to follow.
Moved. Second.
Moved by Ms. Tamira, second by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Tamira,
Yes.
Mrs. McCarthy,
Yes.
Mr. Grigsby. Yes. Mrs. Saxon,
Yes.
Mr. Vaca.
Yes.
6:18.
Thank you, everybody. This will be for the board. So everybody enjoy the rest of their evening. It's beautiful weather.